Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial ship, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high energy updates and digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at noon and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a quick reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Before we dive in, thank you to everyone who takes the time to like, subscribe, and share these videos. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto community, and I love answering your comments and reading and learning from everyone. They said it would take years, that adoption would be gradual, that tokenization would grow quietly, step by step. I remember sitting in a cafe in London in my early days, watching traders stare at candlestick charts for hours, hoping for a spike that never came. Those moments stuck with me. Slowly was over. All at once had begun. But here we are, January 2026, and what was slow has suddenly erupted into motion all at once. It's like watching the Industrial Revolution unfold in real time. But instead of factories and railroads, we're building digital finance infrastructure, capable of moving quadrillions across borders instantly. While retail traders are glued to price charts, debating memes or scrolling social media for hints, the architects of global finance quietly flip the switch. This isn't a test. The pilot is over. The mainstream is here. Today, we're talking about a market that has exploded from $20 billion in tokenized real-world assets to a forecasted $490 billion by the end of this year. That's nearly 25x growth in the shadows, where institutions operate unseen and unstoppable. Swift confirmed it. Standard Charter is live. The DTCC is preparing to move trillions onto the ledger. And if you're waiting for Bitcoin to signal a bull market, you're looking in the wrong place, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on tokenization, the supercycle, and why the frustration you feel as a retail investor is exactly what institutions rely on to build the new financial world without you. Let's talk about the all-at-once moment. The phrase of the year is slowly, then all at once. Think about the dot-com bubble. For years, tech adoption was slow. People were skeptical. Then suddenly, the internet became mainstream overnight, and the wealth creation was explosive. Tokenization is following a similar trajectory. But this time, the infrastructure is ready to handle real money at a global scale. Back in 2020, tokenized assets were almost non-existent. By 2022, they had barely hit $1 billion. By 2024, it took another 2 years to double. But between January 2024 and January 2026, friction vanished. The market didn't double, it 10x'd. We're at $20 billion today, ladies and gentlemen. Let this sink in. Presto Research predicts $490 billion by year-end. That's nearly $470 billion added in just 11 months. This isn't retail hype. It's not meme coins or pumps. It's treasury bonds, credit instruments moving on-chain at institutional scale. Bernstein is calling for 150,000 Bitcoin, price based on this supercycle. But let's be honest, Bitcoin isn't the home for this capital. It can't scale fast enough. Its fees are too high. Its settlement too slow. The real growth is happening on utility networks, XRP Ledger, Stellar, Canton networks built to handle trillions efficiently. If you're following Bitcoin as a proxy, you're watching the wrong scoreboard. Let's talk about the utility network surge. I want to put this in perspective. During the early days of the U.S. stock market in the 1800s, paper share certificates changed hands slowly. Settlements took days, and access was limited to a few wealthy brokers. Now imagine if the New York Stock Exchange had been able to instantly process trillions in real time across global borders. That's exactly what XRP Ledger and Stellar are building today, but digital frictionless 24/7. Imagine Maria, a small business owner in Buenos Aires. Last year, she could barely pay international suppliers on time. Today, with fractional shares and tokenized assets moving on-chain, she sends payments instantly at 3 a.m. No bank delays, no fees eating her margins. This is the reality XRP and Stellar are building, real people benefiting from institutional-grade infrastructure. While everyone else debates crypto prices, the XRP Ledger has quietly hit a milestone, over $700 million in distributed asset value. The represented asset value, the ledger acting as the global bookkeeper, has surged 113%. Let this sink in, ladies and gentlemen, surpassing $1 billion. Stablecoin market cap on XRPL is up 20%, and 30-day transfer volume is $850 million, up 45%. Ladies and gentlemen, efficiency is what institutions speak. That's why XRP Ledger, Stellar, and Canton are winning the utility supercycle. Stellar just hit $1 billion in tokenized assets, scaling rapidly to mainstream adoption. Canton CC is emerging as the privacy and interoperability layer for regulated institutions. The represented value across these networks has already crossed $376 billion, and it's only the beginning. This is the birth of a new asset class where every bond, stock, and piece of real estate can become a liquid token. Retail investors are distracted. They wait for price pumps while institutions quietly build the plumbing that will make the pumps permanent. I want to talk about security and institutional custody. But with great scale comes great responsibility. Retail crypto investors are still exposed to risks from data breaches and phishing attacks. Ledger devices protect private keys, but customer data leaks are a serious concern. Think of the Great Fire of London in 1666. Houses built too close together without fireproofing. Disaster spreads fast. Institutions are building fireproof vaults for digital assets, insured, audited, and off-balance sheets. I spoke with a former bank security officer who likened old crypto wallets to houses built without locks. One small fire, one phishing attack, and the whole savings disappears. Now, institutional custody acts like a modern fortress, insured, audited, impenetrable. No fire can spread, no thief can enter. This is why institutional-grade custody is the future. Firms like Fidelity Digital Assets provide audited insured storage for digital assets, off-ledger and off-balance sheet. In a world moving towards quadrillions on-chain, personal wallets are no longer enough. Institutions need closed-loop systems. XRP and USDC can move safely without leaving the regulated environment. The era of hope and pray security is over. This is production-grade finance, and the titans are ready. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I was having a very interesting phone call last night. I was explaining something that is a core tenet and foundational pillar of why I always preach about structure, infrastructure, why I believe investing in infrastructure for the people that retain us in any capacity is very important, but this is not financial advice. Ladies and gentlemen, infrastructure leads to opportunity. If you can find a place that's cheap and changing, that normally is a very good place to start looking for opportunities. Because if something's very cheap and if there's things changing, well, you have the ability to get on the ground floor. Infrastructure will always lead to opportunity. It does. And the people who understand that infrastructure leads to opportunity are always going to be ahead of the game because you got to be prepared. You got to do your own homework. You have to be ready for anything. And then you're still going to get surprises. Because change is the opportunity that's always coming. So what do we see that's changing right now in today's world? Infrastructure. XRP is the single biggest change we'll see in our lifetime. Swimming underneath these sharks as the remora right now with this one theme is so huge because it's the largest infrastructure shift in our lifetime. Think about it like this. If you went to a country and there was only desert, how are you getting from point A to point B? You can, but you'd probably have to take a camel or some form of off-road vehicle, right? Now imagine if there was a railroad system, highway system, everything, right? The infrastructure is there. You can invest a lot easier. Opportunities are probably becoming more mature to take advantage of, right? So when the infrastructure is laid, that makes such a difference. So again, I was preaching on this call about cheap and change. Find something that's cheap and changing. And as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, what's good for me and the people that retain us is a home run. It's not financial advice. That's just my opinion. The place that's cheap and changing right now is the financial networks around the world. Change is the biggest opportunity of our lifetime. It can be slowed down, but you can't stop the main theme of this, right? That's why I don't believe in overall speculation on chart to chart. That's not how I got to where I was in today's world. I got there by listening to people who were smarter than me and passed something down. I want to welcome all the new members of our membership channel, all the new members of our Patreon, all the tiers. Welcome to the pack. I want to welcome everyone who's new here. The way not to get caught up to sushi is to write down your convictions every day. If you write down your convictions every day about why you're doing what you're doing, you're not going to get caught up like sushi. And if you follow what Jesse Livermore said about position sizing, about speculation as a profession, as an occupation, right? Okay. Swim under these sharks with us, with yourself. Write down your plan, because cheap and changing is the recipe, part of the secret sauce. That was my main ingredient always. Find something that's cheap and changing. That used to be first a commodity region. That used to be a country. Cheap and changing, ladies and gentlemen. Let this sink in. The two C's, cheap and changing, okay? Infrastructure leads to opportunity. Biggest infrastructure opportunity we see right now is the financial system, okay? You have to be prepared. You got to do your own homework. You got to do your rec. You got to be ready for everything, okay? You got to be ready for anything so you don't get cut up like sushi. You got to have that clarity, that Gucci clarity, okay? Change is opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. As the world changes financially, we see what's happening with COMEX, the paper regime, going down the toilet, okay? Someone pulled the plug, and I don't think they have their life jacket on. Physical demand overseas. Everything's going to change right now. Change is the biggest opportunity ever. That's why you got to have a plan. That's why you have to have a plan. Ladies and gentlemen, SWIFT and DTCC confirmation. On January 9th, 2026, a massive signal went out. SWIFT confirmed that tokenization is moving from pilot to mainstream. Michael Spiel, global head of transaction banking at Standard Chartered, announced digital finance is at a tipping point. Tokenization and digital assets are moving into the mainstream. For a bank like Standard Chartered, mainstream means real adoption. They were early Ripple investors. Now Ripple custody and the ISO regime bridges allow USDC and XRP to connect traditional finance to decentralized networks. Meanwhile, the DTCC, which processes 3.7 quadrillion annually, is integrating Canton for US Treasury securities. Reports hint at $100 trillion on-chain movement. Retail investors obsess over a 5-cent XRP move, while the entire Treasury market prepares to go digital. SWIFT becomes the bridge, DTCC the ocean. The infrastructure is live, 24/7. Instant settlement. No more T+2. No waiting for banks to open. Let's talk about the global rewiring. I want you to imagine a world like Venice in the 1500s, where merchants built canals for trade. Every delay cost fortunes. Now replace that with merchant with a modern trader, and the canals with XRP Ledger and Stellar. Every transaction settles instantly. That's the transformation happening today. Tokenization brings real-time settlement, fractional ownership, programmable governance, 24/7 trading. Every asset from private equity to real estate is moving on-chain. Efficiency is unstoppable. And retail frustration is exactly what the institution needs to shake out weekends before the production loss. Solve the opportunity and the warning. If you're holding XRP, Stellar, Canton, HBAR, ICP, or other infrastructure assets, you're ahead of 99% of the market. Don't let the daily candles distract you. Again, I go back to when I was sitting in London, and the guys that were training me, who I was the new guy, said, stop paying attention to people staring all day at charts, praying to the finance gods that they would get the move they're looking for. Learn to see where the world is going. Lose sight of land. Become a skilled mariner. That's how you survive in this game, because change is the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want more of these tips from the pits, do join our Patreon group, because in finance, you have two ways to become successful. One, you get very, very lucky, which is not many people do. Or two, you pack up with someone who knows what they're doing, who's been taught a skill. Okay, and if you want to learn more of these skills, do come to our Patreon and pack up with us, because you'll learn a lifetime of generational knowledge that was passed on to myself and others from tips on the pits, from the floor, of an art that is dying, but you can grind it out every day to help your own situation, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, don't let short-term sideways movement make you sell. The real signal is quadrillions moving through the plumbing, not meme coin chatter. Slowly, then all at once. The slowly is over. The question isn't if tokenization will happen, it's whether you participate or merely witness the next financial supercycle. This is not financial advice. This is just saying that you never really get anywhere if you're sitting on the sidelines, unfortunately, right? Nothing risked, nothing gained. But you have to see what makes sense for your own financial situation, right? What's good for one person is not good for the other. What's everyday life for the spider is chaos for the fly. So you got to see if this makes sense for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is changing. And when I say that changes the opportunity, it is, because it allows you to find something cheap, and that's changing. And then that's where the greatest opportunities are, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. As always, your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high value insights to the crypto community. Stay curious, stay informed. I'll see you in the next video. I want you to have a great day. Always stay emotionless and watch XRP closely. This could be a defining moment. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit the most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves they'll never let it happen again. Or you can be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes. Smash that like button, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay in the Republic.